Owen Shannon here. I first started experiencing the feeling at the beginning of college. I just spent the summer being as into games as I ever was, so much so that I was messing around with the old PS2 Slim. I started playing Persona 4 of all games, got about 25 hours in, and then school started, so I never played it again. I still made some time for games, played a lot of Madden and 2K because they're so low commitment, and it took me like 6 months to play through Watch Dogs 2. My priorities were different, and I never really put down games per se, but the games I was playing were mindless and low effort. I saw this video recently from YouTube creator Jackass, talking about this subject of why games are no longer fun.
I don't mean that in the sense of like, is GTA 5 a fun game? It objectively is. Going in as Trevor and going on a rampage still gives me a small rush of serotonin. But now the game's been out for 7 years, and a rampage just isn't as fun as it used to be, and I alt F4.
And after watching it, I started getting flooded with a bunch of these videos that had the same sentiment. All created by guys that seem to be in their early 20s like myself, where everything went down in Xbox 360 parties while playing Black Ops. I don't exactly agree with the sentiment in many of these videos, but I understand it, and I've been through it. Let's start by scratching the surface here. There are a lot of general problems with gaming, particularly around monetization and lack of creativity in the AAA space. Gaming may seem boring now because we have had the same COD and Far Cries that existed when we were kids. On top of that, games now try to bleed you dry as much as they can, or they're padded out to an offensive extent just to keep you playing. All of these are all caps problems in gaming. Another more obvious element to this sentiment is that nostalgia is always going to play better. If you've been staying in the same franchises forever, it's highly likely that you'll feel so much more fond of Black Ops 2 than you do of the new Call of Duty Vanguard, regardless of whether or not there's really even that much of a difference between the two. Let's get a little deeper though. I find myself thinking so much more lately about why people like games and how the baggage we all bring into games contributes to the elements we find important. I've identified what I view as being 3 pillars of gaming that contribute to our enjoyment. And those are the tech, socialization, and the craft of gaming. All 3 of these pillars are not able to stand tall at all times, and I believe that is the major contributor to why so many no longer find gaming to be fun. Well, gosh darn, I thought them were some real players on the screen there. The jump from NBA Live on the PS2 to the Xbox 360 was mind-blowing. I remember seeing NBA Live 10 set up on a huge TV in Best Buy and just being blown away by it. There used to be something so cool about technological advancement in gaming. My first time seeing the PS2 to Xbox 360 jump was magical. It used to legitimately keep me up at night. Then it was less magical from 360 to PS4 and Xbox One, and now in the newest generation, there are a whole lot of people that say they prefer the PS5 to the Xbox because they changed up their startup dashboard while the Xbox didn't. I'm sorry, but I really think we're grasping for straws here if the main differentiation of what makes a new console exciting is its startup menu. Frame rates and ray tracing are important and do look noticeably better, but man is it really hard to build up excitement for that. Jumping from 480p to HD was like watching stick figures turn into real life. It was fucking incredible. Now we're talking about cooler lighting and consistent frames. It's not a problem that the tech around the games is getting less exciting on the surface, but I think it's a factor. For the most part, every game looks really good now, while we had about 15 years of constantly being blown away by new advancements. I don't want to belittle it too much, and more power to you if this stuff gets you really excited, but it's undeniable that these topics around the tech of games are getting progressively more niche. Perhaps the most impressive example of next-gen tech so far is Forza Horizon 5. And it undeniably looks great, but as a normie, I kind of think it doesn't look that different from the 4th game. If any tech hardos are hearing me say this stuff, they may be getting mad, but that rush of excitement that I used to get because you could see the beads of sweat on players in sports games, that excitement, it's dried up for me. I think it's probably dried up for a lot of other people too. Now, I'm not in the game of feeling nostalgic about quarantine, except for the inhumane amount of Super Smash Bros. My friends and I played. We've always managed to go on runs with Smash where we get really competitive, but this was able to be our lives for multiple weeks, given the circumstances. Before quarantine, these days were long gone. Gone were the days where me and a friend could play 9 hours of the Battlefield 3 beta because we were 8th graders. What else would we be doing? Gaming absolutely does not feel the same these days because all of us making videos about it are adults now. And while I miss those days, I feel in my adulthood I'm complicit in this. I'm always appearing offline, not to avoid anyone really, but it's clearly not a big priority of mine these days to signal to people that I'm online. I even look at a game like Back 4 Blood that friends and I have managed to play a few times. And maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but it's not like it's living up to the nostalgic view of Left 4 Dead I have, even though it is a very faithful recreation of the series. Life gets in the way for all of us. Our time and our desires change a lot over time, and I see this loss of constant gaming with friends as a natural casualty. I don't begrudge anyone who once saw this as their primary reason for gaming, and now they're bummed that it's no longer as prevalent. So the year is 2020. I'm a senior in college at this point, and while I've never stopped playing games, I felt completely disconnected from the culture around them. I wasn't making time anymore for single-player narratives or going out of my way to try interesting new indies like I used to. But at this time, I wanted that to change, so I made a promise to myself that I was going to sit down and beat a game again. Something that hadn't happened in far too long. I chose Doom 2016 and was reminded that video games can just be fun as fuck sometimes. Its kinetic, ultra-violent combat was so stereotypically capital G gamer that I couldn't help but appreciate it. I beat it, the pandemic started, then I was gaming more than ever before from that point on. Once I overcame the intimidation that can come with taking on a new game, I learned that the way I want to appreciate games as an adult is to actually begin to understand them. I look back at Doom now, and I just love being able to notice and understand some of the design decisions. Glory kills heal you and can only be done while you're up close and personal with enemies. Hence, that mechanic encourages aggression from the player. Just something as simple as learning the purpose behind a mechanic like that makes me appreciate it so much more. For anyone out there struggling with whether or not gaming is fun anymore, I'm not going to tell you the basic just play indies because they're more interesting. What I would tell you is to really question whether you like games on their own or if you really just liked impressive tech or social interactions that came along with them, and there's no shame in that. However, if your answer is that you do love games and want to get back into them, I just recommend doing some learning. I've personally found that becoming an informed and attentive player of games has completely changed the ways I see the medium and my enjoyment of it overall. Gaming doesn't have to be something that is stuck in the past for you because you can learn to appreciate it on a whole nother level.